Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest is someone I've known a very long time, long time. He's been competing since 1984,
Oof.
and he's he's a study in dedication, perseverance, never giving up. You're going to hear all about it. This is Vinny Galanti. How are you, Vinny?
I'm fine. Thanks, Ron, for having me on again.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Appreciate
Yeah. So, I like the stories of people who are underdogs, of people who have had adversity, who've had to keep coming back and trying over and over again and find new strategies and do that because you didn't turn pro overnight like a lot of these people do, especially now with some of the newer divisions. It happens fast.
it. Yeah.
Uh, you took 30 attempts to turn professional. Is that right? 30?
30. Well, 1980, 1993, I won my weight class in the USA.
Yeah. Chris
And
Cormier won
then,
the overall. Awesome show, and you looked amazing at that show. I was there.
yeah, yeah. So it wasn't until 2008 that I turned pro at the age of 41. So I think I was from 94 to 2001. I was in the nationals from second place to sixth place.
Yeah.
I could have turned pro, I think, three times with the
Right.
standards today.
Right.
And then I stopped and I took a break. I opened up a business. And then 2000, a couple of years later, 2005, came back, took fifth again in the nationals. And then 2008, I got my pro card in the Masters Nationals.
Yeah. Yeah. You won the light heavyweight and overall.
Yes.
Not easy to do because usually it is. It's the heavier, the super heavy, but you've got that shape, that structure, those lines. It trumps a lot of guys with just more raw bulk. You've always had just a very, you were classic. You were a classic physique long before there was classic physique.
Thank you.
Uh, I
Thank you.
kind of wish this division. You're one of those guys. I kind of wish the division had been around a lot sooner. Because I think
Well,
you would have done very well.
if they bumped the weight class up a couple of pounds, I could probably make it. But
Yeah, yeah, we'll get to it because you've done both. You've competed in as a pro in master in classic and bodybuilding. You've done both.
thank you.
You're what was I going to get at? But let's start with a little history because not everyone knows who you are, and I want to make sure people have some history. So you did your first show back in 1984, which is
Yes,
pretty. Wow,
teenage Mr. Hudson County.
wow. I don't know anybody that started competing in 1984. Someone's probably going to chime in and correct me, say I was, but that is still competing today in 2019. There might be somebody out there, I don't know, but that's as far as somebody that's a pro right now. I don't think any of them were competing in 1984. I might stand corrected though. It's still what,
I
even
don't know if
if
you'd be proud of that.
I would, because this is a sport where people come and go, and you don't see a lot of longevity. You
No,
know,
I'm dedicated. I have always been dedicated to the sport and to the NPC and the IFBB. I love the way it's run. It's a lot of people always like get aggravated at their placings, and I learn from. I try to learn from what I think I'm a true athlete where even if I win, I want to know what I did wrong, and
mm,
that's what always has made me progress, and that's what made me move forward all the time. I really truly enjoy this. I'm not going anywhere.
yeah, awesome. So you must have what it had to take a lot of, I don't know, a lot of heart to keep competing all those years when you kept getting second, third, fourth at nationals at USA over and over again. You
Well,
you you had won your class at the USA back in '93, but the
well,
nationals you kept placing top five, and you got second a few times, you got third, you got fourth.
yep.
Like you said, now it's top two anyway. You would have turned many of those placings you got then would have been pro qual. You would have turned pro now, but was it tough for you to keep persevering when you were knocking on the door so long and you kept just missing it?
Well, it was a different time back then,
Mm,
and I learned from guys like Sean Ray and Monica Brandt about the business end of the sport. So the way I looked at it was, I'm going to train for the nationals, but I'm going to set up as many photo shoots as I can right after the show, so I would have longevity during the year, and that would then parallel that into guest posings around the country
mm,
and traveling around the world. So I acted like a professional because I learned from the professionals.
mm.
I didn't put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak, in the sense of I had to win the nationals or nothing. Like
Right.
I know a lot of people who get their pro card even today, and they think the phone is going to ring off the wall, and or their cell phone is going to ring out of their pocket, whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So that's not going to happen. So I knew the business end of it. I learned from Sean Ray. I learned from watching Monica Brandt. I learned from just picking their brain a little bit, and I just ran with it. And I was very fortunate. People were like, oh, why does Vinny Galanti get all this coverage? Because I bust my ass and I write to all the magazines and I call all the photographers. I'd done all the legwork about 5 months before the contest. My prep would even start. Wow. And so I would have photo shoots lined up. If I called 15 photographers, I might get only 3 to 5. But those 3 to 5 would land me in magazines all year long. Yeah. And it helped actually staying in shape right after the contest. So, we go to the Nationals, probably do some sightseeing for a day and then fly right out to California, do some photo shoots, and, made a weekend out of it or a week out of it, and did it as a business. It was an investment. So I had to pay my own way to go to California back in those days. Yeah. But in the long run, it paid off because then I got guest posings from it and I got endorsement deals. And I was fortunate to be with Universal Nutrition for 18 years. So wow. I treated it as a business. I didn't look at it as like, oh man, this stinks. I didn't win again. It didn't matter to me. It didn't matter because I had guys who were turning pro. You never heard of them after they turned pro, and I was still in the spotlight. Yeah.
So, if you go back to, I get a lot of my contest results for people from a website called musclememory.com. Mm-hmm. I encourage everyone to give them a little donation if you frequent them often like I do. But I looked and saw some of the people that turned pro in classes that you didn't win. And no disrespect to any of them, but 9 out of 10 of those guys, you've never heard. You never heard from them again.
Right.
They never did anything in the sport because probably they expected, like you said, they think you're going to turn pro, and then all of a sudden everyone's going to be calling you up saying, "Oh, please, we want you to endorse our product. We want to fly you out to LA and do this and that." It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way at all. And you have to have thick skin in the sport. You have to have thick skin on the business end and thin skin on a stage.
Well, you always had thin skin. That was one of your strong points. So let's see. You turned pro in 2008 at age 41,
right?
Which isn't that unusual these days. Back when we were kids, a 41-year-old man in bodybuilding was like, "Oh my God, right. Grandpa, what are you doing, Grandpa?" But now it's like, Dexter's 50 in a couple weeks. So you did that. You started off in the 202 division, which it was still 202 for the first couple of years you were a pro. So you did 2009 New York Pro, got 7th there. Pittsburgh Pro, 8th. 2010 Sacramento, you got 6th. Not too bad at all. 2011 New York Pro, 8th. Toronto, 7th. So you were always up there, top 10 in the shows.
It seemed like all the shows I picked, at least 4 or 5 Olympia guys were ahead of me. I always picked the wrong shows.
I hear you, man. I mean, I joke to people. I say, when I was competing, who was in my class? And if it's people that don't know much, I'll say Dorian Yates, Kevin Levrone, Lee Haney, and they go, "Wow." I go, "Yeah, it was tough." But I looked at the names of some of the people, like Jose was in a lot of your shows. Yeah. I think David Henry was in some of your shows. It was all top notch guys.
Yeah. Those guys made me better,
Yeah.
Those guys made me better.
Did you, as a 202? I mean, what was your weight back then? Were you trying to get bigger, or did you play to your strengths, which were always the shape and the symmetry and the cuts?
No, I went against what was true to me, and we'll tie it into what I did for this previous show.
Yep.
The Pittsburgh Masters Pro.
Which you won, by the way, everybody. He won that. Go ahead.
I ran into the wrong people after the show, and everybody was like, "Man, you put on another 10 pounds, and you're going to destroy this." Mm-hmm. And I put on 10 pounds, and it made my waist look wider, my shoulders were narrower, and I held a ton of water. And I just couldn't get into the shape that I wanted to get in. And then every show, I was in shape, but I wasn't crisp. I wasn't the way I used to be. And I was like, how do these other guys do this? How does everyone else get big? And I see them make these big transformations. And it just didn't work for me. And, I was there, but I was just missing that little bit of edge that I used to have as an amateur. Mm-hmm. And I slipped. I don't know if I would have beaten any of those guys like a David Henry or a Jose, but I didn't come in at my best. And that's what bothered me, that led me to compete this past month.
Okay, because there was a gap here. There was a gap from 2013 to 2017 where you didn't compete at all. You're placing the 2013. That's probably something had to do with it. New York Pro, you didn't make the top. You didn't make the cut at that show in Orlando. You were 13th. So at that point, that year, did you think you were retired, or did you just decide I'm going to take a break for a while?
No, I was I was fed up. I couldn't find the chemistry for myself. I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, and it was really in front of my face. It was stop doing what you're doing and go back to what used to work.
Hmm.
And I just couldn't figure it out. And on top of that, because I was so burnt out and so like, living out of Tupperware for a million years and training and just the whole, everything that encompassed training for a show, I didn't give it 100%. I was doing it, the wheels were spinning, but I wasn't giving 100%. And I just, just had no, I lacked the enthusiasm for it, and it just fell apart for me. And then I think the last show I did, right, I didn't make. What would you say was the last one I did?
Oh, well, what I have for 2013 was the last New York Pro, which would have been May. You didn't place at that, and then Orlando. I think that would have been around the same time. Was that a spring show too?
Yeah, right.
It was either April or May. They used to have that show.
Yeah,
13th place there.
yeah.
And then
That
you didn't compete again for 4 years.
yeah, that was the last one, and I was miserable. I wanted to go back to the hotel, shower off, and find a flight to come home. So I just wanted to get out of there. That's how miserable I was.
Wow.
And then just bad luck happened after that, where I tore my shoulders apart and had to go through all that rehab. And
Well, tell me about that. My shoulders are total shit right now. So I like to hear from people who have overcome that, which you have clearly. So when did you just start having like serious shoulder problems at that time, or had they been building up over years and years?
for a few years, my right shoulder was bothering me, and I knew my threshold on a couple of exercises and movements were a certain weight, and I knew not to go past that. So this one particular day, I was flat dumbbell benching, and the 70-pound dumbbells that I knew that I should stay with felt super light. So the dumbass over here decides to go up to 75, super light, 80s, easy. I'm going to go to 85s. Well, the 85s are being used. Go to 90.
Of course.
So on my fifth rep on the with the 90s, it just ripped right off.
Wow.
My shoulder literally just dislocated, and all four heads of my rotator cuff just ripped right off.
Yikes.
I mean, yeah, my arm was just dangling.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was painful.
Could you hear it? Was it like when a muscle tears? Could you hear the ripping sound?
The guy who was spotting me heard it.
Wow, it's like Velcro, right?
Yeah, exactly. It just.
Oh man.
So I was training Dr. Chris Anisi, who is an anesthesiologist with the group for the Tri-County Orthopedic Surgeons, and I just called him up, and he's like, "Get here right now." So I went in right away.
Wow.
Pretty much right on the spot. The doctor came out of surgery. He really did me a solid, and I went in for X-rays first, and he said, "What I'm looking at, I think it's scar tissue, or it could be bone ripped off. I'm not sure. So we got to go into an MRI." Right. So I go into MRI. Make a long story short, come back, and I had no idea it was dislocated. They knew, and Chris starts talking to me from my left side. The doctor's asking me on my right side, "Does this hurt? How does this feel?" And then he just shoved it right back in. And whatever had a dislocated shoulder, they know you want to throw up on the spot. Yeah. So make a long story short, had surgery New Year's Eve, 2014-15. And
what a crappy New Year's Eve that must have been.
The most painful thing I've ever experienced, because my pain block, my nerve block wore off around midnight. And they told me it would wear off the next day. And I didn't have any pain meds in me.
Oh.
Yeah. God. Ouch. So.
Man. Okay, so that was your right shoulder.
Right shoulder, 9 anchors.
9 screws. You got all kinds of hardware inside there now.
Yeah.
Setting off all the metal detectors at the airport. What happened to the other shoulder?
So throughout the year, I didn't dive into educating myself, which I should have, on how to rehab the shoulder. I listened to the physical therapist, which held me back a great deal. Not to give any a negative a negative feedback or anything on that, but they treated me like an average person, and they thought it was funny to give me little pink dumbbells, and I was getting frustrated. I'm like, guys, treat me like an athlete, don't treat me like an old person. Right. And remember the physical therapist said, Vinny, you're 47 years old. Your days of competing are over. And the look you just gave me, that's what I gave him. And
I said, really?
Yeah, I walked out. I said, I'll do my physical therapy on my own. And it wasn't until the end of the year that I started getting mobility back and my strength back. And then my left side started hurting me. So I said, okay, let me get on top of this. I was doing ART. I was doing cupping. I was doing dry needling. I was doing anything I could to avoid tearing this one. Right. But it was inevitable. And one day I just picked up a 5-pound dumbbell mid-January, and it just ripped right off.
Damn.
So
same injury, or what kind of injury was this?
Same exact injury. Oh, yeah, same exact injury. And then I did my own research, and I came across articles from Charles Poliquin, who's recently passed away this year. Yeah, so Charles was one of my mentors in a sense. So I always read up on his stuff, and my head started getting clearer, and I had more of a direction now. I knew I wanted to get out of the bad state I was in. I just had a lot of bad stuff going on, and so I knew I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. I'm going to rehab this thing on my own. I'm going to get better. And the articles that I read from Charles Poliquin were the injured side rest and the healthy side train, and it will send neurons over to help rehab, and so the muscle wouldn't atrophy. So it was kind of a hard concept to swallow, but I thought, well, I have nothing really to lose. So I did it. The right side didn't atrophy. My left side didn't atrophy. My left side atrophied a little bit. It took me a little bit longer to get that side back. Mm-hmm. But I started training within 3 months and working out. And, you know, when you don't work out, you lose your mind. And for guys like us who've been working out for a long time, that's kind of our happy place, you know, going to the gym, even if we're not training for anything.
Right.
You know?
So I guess my question is, because so they were both rotator cuff tears. Those are the injuries that you had?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's soft tissue injury. You don't have, severe arthritis or anything on that level. You never needed like full shoulder replacements or anything like that.
No,
Okay.
Nothing like that. No.
Okay. No. So did you have to adjust your training, or were you able to eventually train the way you used to like to train, heavier?
Well, I tried to just train and not even give it any thought. And then I was hitting roadblocks all the time. And I came to the realization that I had to put my ego aside and start doing things that worked and not focus on the things that used to work. Mm-hmm. So once I got over that hump, which was a little hard because you're thinking like, oh man, how can I accomplish what I want to accomplish if I can't do push presses and heavy military presses and deadlifts and all those things. Right. Now I could do some of those things, but they have to be in a controlled environment, like a 6 to 8 rep range. And I became a student of lifting weights again. I figured, let me learn from guys who are smarter than me. And I just started going on YouTube, and I like almost every day I'm on a John Meadows video. The guy's intelligent. And, you remember what was that movie? I think I've said this in the past where Tom Cruise was in a race car and they said, how do you know how to drive like that?
Days of Thunder.
Right. And he said, I don't know how to drive. Like, I don't know why I know. They just put me in a car and I knew how to do it. Well, I never knew how to be a bodybuilder. I just did it. It just came natural. And now it wasn't coming natural anymore. It was really a hard thing I was dealing with. So I needed to go to people who were smarter than me and figure out, okay, how do I get around this? And some of the things that I learned was isolateral movements or single arm movement, one side at a time, however you want to call it. Yeah. And I couldn't squat because I couldn't get my hands back. So a lot of Bulgarian split squats. And that came from Evan Centopani. I was reading an article from him on how he rehabbed his leg. So I knew the information was out there. And I just dove into being a student of learning how to train again and forgetting everything I knew, applying what worked for me. And if it aggravated it, then I wouldn't do it. So like I can't do barbell curls because they detached each bicep to get into the shoulder.
Wow.
So when I'm in that position, I feel it in such a on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably about a 6 pain when I'm doing just a barbell.
Yeah.
So I focus on doing more spider curls, concentration curls, and a lot of time under tension, a lot of really, really slow reps, and just trying to go as heavy as I can, but with a slow tempo.
Okay. This is Meadows was out here last weekend, and we actually had a little debate that I was hoping he would have an answer for, and we weren't really sure. So maybe you can answer this, because you were training with a certain amount of weight before your shoulders started to give you trouble. Then you had to train lighter for a while. And my question to John was, what if you can't, like in my case, I can't press heavy overhead anymore. I can't. I used to be very strong in that. Can't do it anymore. And I've definitely lost some of the fullness and roundness that my shoulders used to have. So my question was, could you still replicate that look again, build that muscle the way it was without using as much resistance? And, he wasn't sure. So in your case, did you eventually work back up to the old weights you used to have, or are you able to build the muscle? Because you obviously put all your muscle back. I looked at all your pictures. Did you do that with heavier weights, or were you able to do it with more moderate weights and, more time under tension and things like you were just talking about?
So 2 parts to that answer. One, I'm able to answer this because I went through it. I went to the point of where I couldn't train, and I became like a normal looking person. I was just, I remember the one time somebody asked me if I played tennis. That was like, oh God, I shoot myself. So to answer the question, I went against the grain because everyone else was doing it. So I trained heavier than I should have trained, when in fact, moderate and lightweight work for me. It's been my bread and butter my whole life. But back in the day, I was too stubborn and too ignorant to adhere to that and say, this is what works for me. And I got to forget what all the other guys are doing, because I wanted to be just like everyone else, lifting heavy weight.
Right.
And it didn't work for me. And all it did was cause me problems throughout my whole career. I always had something nagging and just aching me. And so now it was like, okay, let's be true to yourself. Let's really train the right way. And the right way for me is, honestly, I don't go past like 65, 70-pound dumbbell presses, overhead presses, maybe 40 pounds. But I'm going super slow. And for most people, they would look at that and be like, that's frustrating. I can't train that way. That's the only way I can train now.
Right.
Do I try to lift a little heavier once in a while? Yeah. But I got to be smart about it. It's not what it makes up the whole part of my workout. It's just something that, I can't do all the time. I have to, be true to myself. There was a video that came out when Danny Hester first won I think his first 2 classic show.
2016, yeah.
The Muscle Beach thing. Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was called Crystal Cup. No, I think it was out in LA. It was like a Muscle Beach show or something.
It was a Muscle Beach. And he was talking about being true to himself. And I watched that video just before, maybe I found it on YouTube, and it was probably 5 months before I trained for the Pittsburgh Pro. And I said, this has got to be my motto. I got to be true to myself. And I have to go back and train for this contest like I'm going to be a light heavyweight. And that was my approach. So I pretended, I got on a scale, it was about 219. I looked at my size. I'm like, I think I'm pretty much back to the way I used to be. And I have a certain look in the off season. My stomach looks a certain way. My shoulders are narrower. We all have a certain look, and you gotta, see the future, when you're looking at yourself at 15 weeks out, 16 weeks out. And I'm like, I got to get hard as nails. I got to get a small waist. I got to be as grainy as like a John Meadows or Rich Gaspari. I got to get there. I have to have the symmetry of Lee Labrada, Frank Zane. I got to have all that combination. And I said to a few people that, yeah, I'm going to do the Masters Pittsburgh Pro. And one of my buddies who has competed in it, he goes, oh, you'll win the over 50 easy. I said, well, then that's why I have to do the over 40. He's like, Vin, if you do the over 40, you might not make the top 5. These guys are young, and you're going to be 12 years older. I said, no, you don't understand. I got to compete in both because you got to realize here in Jersey, you got a lot of, everywhere, I guess, you got a lot of haters. And that was on a personal note. And I'm like, if I win the over 50, I don't want to hear any conversation saying, oh, well, he's 52 years old. That's expected. I wanted to go and dominate both. And that's what I did. I got ones all across the board. They put me right in the middle. And,
Yeah. You also won, you won your class, the 50 over 50 at Tampa Hurricane Pro. Was that before or after Pittsburgh?
It was right after Pittsburgh. It was 3 weeks after.
So two pro wins in 3 weeks, man. Not bad.
Three pro wins.
3 pro wins. Yeah, you're right. Because over 40 and over 50 in Pittsburgh. Math isn't my strong suit. But I want to go back to, so you had the second shoulder procedure in early 2016.
Yes.
At what point did you start to really feel like you wanted to compete again? You really felt that itch to come back?
Well, first I just started out by wanting to get in shape. I just wanted to have abs and just look good. And when the whole new classic division started, I thought, how could I do this? Because I was down in size. Yeah. And I thought, let me see if I could fit into this weight class and compete. And what was happening was I was kind of like on the small surface started growing again. And my calories weren't that high, but I started training and it just started to blossom, but I was holding it back and I didn't realize that's what I was doing. And so I think I came in dead last. I was ripped, but I had a weird look to my physique. I didn't have what I usually had.
No, it said you were, are we talking about 2018?
2017.
2017. You said you got 6th place here in Baltimore.
Yeah, out of 6.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I didn't know that. See, most people wouldn't say that. I give you credit.
No, man.
Yeah, I think that was around the time we were talking online, and you were debating classic or bodybuilding. You didn't know which way to go because I think what's the weight you have to be at for classic as a pro?
185.
185.
Yeah.
And you would have to lose a little. You would, you were competing at about 195, 198 prior to that, right?
As an amateur, yeah.
Yeah. So you would have had to drop, about 15 pounds of pure muscle.
Well, I didn't have the muscle, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. And then in 18, I kind of was putting it together, but it wasn't there yet. I probably should never have stepped on stage in 17, and I probably should never have stepped on stage in 18. I probably needed those 2 years of training. Yeah. But I think going through the process, it was a huge learning experience. And, I know some people could say to me, like, you've been doing this for 30 something years. Don't you know everything? And I didn't, I had to relearn my body. I mean, if I never had an injury, then maybe it would have came back a lot easier. But I had to make sure I had the balance and the coordination to hold the weights. It was the weirdest and most humbling experience that I went through. And then it was right after Baltimore in 18 that I realized I think I'm holding myself back. I think I'm ready to train. I gave I think a week or 2 off, and then I started coming back with a 5x5 system, and then I brought the reps to 8, and then I brought the reps to 12, and I kept doing a cycle like that. And every time I brought the reps down, I brought the weights up. And if you know me, I have zero patience to do any of that kind of crap. But after watching videos from Jose Raymond, John Meadows, to name just a few, to see how these guys are training and just being smart about what they do, it's just, and also recovery and products to take during recovery, like, intra-workout products and stuff like that. It's been a learning curve, and it's kind of like, honestly, it's one of my funnest times I've competed ever, because I had to learn things again. I had to relearn how to do things, because it was like I couldn't do what I used to do, and that's kind of sucked. But then I was like, well, if I focus on that, then that's the direction I'm thinking all the time. So I put that aside, and I just started thinking about, what can I do? I thought if I focus on what I can do, I'll give that 100%. And I just focused on being in my head. It was a make-believe weight class of 198 pounds because I
Hmm.
knew that as a light heavy, I looked my best.
Right.
And, I needed to be my best. I needed to be, you hear on social media today, I'm bringing my condition to a whole new level. I'm doing all this bullshit. And right, and you guys never do it. Well, on social media, I didn't talk. I didn't say anything. I just kept my mouth shut. And I knew the goal I had in mind. And I knew that I wanted to dominate. I needed to dominate. I didn't want to be a competitor that fought it out. I needed to be so good that day that the other guys, that they were judging for second and third. I needed to stand. That's just a mindset. I had a killer instinct. I had a killer mindset. I just needed to go and I remember, and you probably know this. Remember the video, one of the Olympia videos? I think it was Gaspari, and he's like, "If I don't win, I'll die."
I'll die. Yeah.
You
I
know?
remember.
And that was in my head. I'm like, and I just had this thing about I needed to go to a place I hadn't been in a long time. I went to a gym that nobody knew me. I stopped going to all the gyms that I frequently would go. People were asking me what's wrong. I'm like, nothing. I just, I gave a nice answer. I didn't want to, because nothing was wrong. It was just people don't understand like that mindset. And especially today, too many idiots are in the gym taking selfies and jerking off and doing things that just
My bad. I'm sorry. That's me. But
no.
I know what you mean, though.
Saw
You
me
can't.
train, probably wouldn't walk up to me in the middle of a set and interrupt my workout.
No, you can't. You can't. When you're training for any show, you really can't have people coming up to you throughout the whole workout and starting conversations. You need to be in that zone. And
Yeah.
I feel bad. I don't compete anymore, but I always felt like a dick when I had to shove these people away. But I'm thinking they should understand. They see me with the headphones on. They see I'm focused. Why are they coming up to me now? Wait till the workout's over. But people don't understand. They don't get it. So
Yeah.
you can't really blame them.
No, I don't. And that's why I needed to walk away and go to another gym that nobody knew me.
Mm.
And it was just it was a productive year.
Mm.
I set my goal for Pittsburgh, and I really never did a lot of shows back to back. And I wanted to push the envelope in how much I could eat and change my diet a little bit into the Hurricane Pro. And I was able to actually eat a little bit more. And I came in the Hurricane a lot fuller and bigger and tighter. I think I put on like 3 pounds in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I filled out a little bit more. I got really grainy and harder. And I actually thought about doing the Niagara Falls 212, but I'm done. I'm tired.
When is that? That's December or something, isn't it?
It's like in 6 weeks, 5 weeks.
I should know. But Bob Chick and Indy O'Brien are putting it on. I should know off the top of my head, but
yeah, I know.
Well,
I talked to Bob. I told him I was thinking of doing it, but I'm out of that mindset now. I need to rest. I got a couple of Dallas Cowboy games I'm going to go to.
Dallas Cowboys. Are you in Texas now?
No, I'm in New Jersey.
Dallas Cowboys. Wow.
Yeah, we got Dallas is playing the Jets this weekend.
Oh, okay.
And then we got a family trip. We're going out to Dallas next week to see them play the Eagles. And then a family friend is taking me to the Dallas Giants Monday night game in like 3 weeks.
So you're a Cowboys fan, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm not a football fan. You could like or hate any team you want. Yeah, I know. It's like I'm not American, right?
You're not a Brady fan?
I live 10 miles away from Gillette Stadium, and no, never watched a game.
Oh,
My daughter's going to the game tonight with her husband. I could care less.
That's
box
great.
seats. I'm like, nah, I don't want to go. But I'm curious, when you look at your physique now. I was just looking at the Hurricane pictures before we started talking, and yeah, you looked phenomenal. When you look at your physique now at age 52, and you compare it to, I don't know, let's say your late 20s, early 30s, what's different about it? What's better, and what do you wish might still be the same? Because we all change over the years.
Right. Well, that was one thing that I had to let go of because I knew I'm looking different now. I'm 50. I'm in my 50s, so I can't fight that. And so I'm never going to have that. Back in my 20s, I was 165 pounds, then 175, then 180, and so on and so on. But I know that my best is under 200 pounds, and if I go over that, I become blocky. If I'm around 195 to 197, 98, pushing it, my waist stays small, and my lats are wide, and my shoulders are wide. Ironically, my shoulders improved in all of this craziness of my shoulder surgeries, they got better.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And, I actually learned a lot from Kevin Levrone too. And all of the feedback he was getting from about, the media saying his legs aren't going to grow. And so the one thing that I paid attention to was, and I don't know what he did privately, but everything we saw on social media, he was going back to his old ways of training. And I thought, well, if they're not going to grow now doing that stuff, maybe I shouldn't do it. And I just thought, well, I'm in my 50s. Let me see. I started squatting, and all I had was shoulder problems again. And like I couldn't sleep. My arms were killing me. My shoulders were killing me, and my legs weren't growing. They just weren't growing, and I couldn't even get past 275 on the squat because I couldn't hold the bar. Right, so then I came across I think it was an article or a video. I can't remember, with Evan Centopani talking about the Bulgarian split squat. And then I saw John Meadows doing a Bulgarian split squat with the 8 seconds hold at the bottom. And he's a fucking lunatic. And I thought, I got to be a lunatic to train for this contest. I got to get my body to the point where, like I said a moment ago, everyone else was battling for second place. I wanted to leave no stone unturned. And I didn't say shit on social media. I didn't talk smack. I didn't say what I was going to do. I just went to the gym. I did it. Maybe I videoed a lot of my stuff and I put it up, but I never talked about it. And I just thought, you know what? I'm not Vinny from 35 anymore, or 40 or whatever. And so I can't focus on that. I needed to focus on, one, trying to bring the best package that I could bring currently. And in doing so, a lot of the judges, it was really cool because a few of the judges judged me the last 3 years, and they knew me from previous years, and they were pretty excited. And they said, man, it's such a pleasure to see you you persevered through all of this, and that your body looks like it used to, and maybe it's almost better. So it was a great compliment, and I feel like, I did my job. I did my job.
So another thing I'm curious about is the way you prepped as far as diet and cardio. How is that different at age 52 than it was maybe at age 25?
Well, back in the day, in the 90s, we never used sodium in our diets. We never added salt. At least I didn't, and the guys I knew here in New Jersey, nobody ever did that. Right. And then a few years after I turned pro, Fakri was talking to me. We were talking about adding salt to the diet, and it worked for me. And then when I would pull it out, I looked stringy. And I just wasn't understanding yet how to put this all together. So there were a few years where I was having new school stuff blended with old school stuff. And, it was chaos for me a little bit. But this time, logically, it was like, hey, the more I salt my food, the more I drink water and stay on my diet, the tighter and drier I am. And then I experimented on a few of my clients where, now, Ron, I don't know where this whole thing came from with peak week, but it's like, it's a joke, because a lot of my clients, I would tell them, we're not changing a thing. We're going to ride this right into the show. And they went in shows and won them where they never cut their water, never cut their sodium, and they look great. In the past, I used a low carb diet, and it worked for me. This time, my carbs were pretty high, for me anyway. My low days were 100 grams for 2 days. And 4 days, they were 375. And then a high day of about 500. Wow. And that was high for me. I never done anything like that. And I always had a cheat meal every Sunday night. Wow. Like every Sunday, even including the week before the show. And I just rode into the show that way.
So you eat more carbs now when you diet than you used to in the younger years. Is that what it sounds like? Wow.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I also had a very relaxed attitude for the contest. I didn't want to be neurotic about it either. So, I train clients, and sometimes it might go over, like, let's say I'm supposed to eat at 10 a.m. And, back in the day, I'd be like a lunatic. I had to have my Tupperware open at, 9:59 and start eating at 10 o'clock. I'd be like crazy about that. If it was 10:15 and I started eating, all right, no big deal. I was just very relaxed. I tried to be as stress-free, that's hard to do, but I tried to be as stress-free as possible. I didn't add anything to the plate. And I just was like, I'm training today. All right, I got to eat at 10. If I don't get to it until 10:15, that's fine. if I'm on the road and it's 10:15, I pulled over. You know, if I knew I had to drive another 20 minutes, I didn't go that out of line with it, but I didn't really like, you know, I went to that dark place that we all have to go to train for a show, but I wasn't neurotic about it. I wasn't crazy.
Were you doing more or less cardio than you have in the past?
I did way more than I have ever done, which is probably not that much. I only did a stair mill 4 days a week at 30 minutes. In the past, I really never did cardio.
Wow.
So,
I mean, oh yeah. I mean, you always struck me as someone who looked like you had a fast metabolism. You know, you got in great condition. And, you know, I don't want to say ectomorphic because you didn't have like little narrow shoulders or anything, but you always struck me as someone who probably didn't have to do a ton of cardio. So I'm glad you proved me right.
yeah.
So you have your own training facility where you train clients. It's the Lift Factory, right?
No, I actually closed it in 2017.
Oh man, I'm an idiot. What is it? So what do you do now?
I train my clients at a Gold's Gym in Teterboro, New Jersey.
Okay. So to put it in perspective, because there's a lot of lazy bums out there who think you can't do anything. If you're prepping for a show, you have to be unemployed or, you know, live off some sugar mama or something. So what kind of hours were you putting in with clients while you were prepping for your wins?
Just my normal days. I was training anywhere 5 people to 10 people a day.
Wow.
But what I did was I strategically placed my clients and my meals around each other. So I got my meals in. I had to be smart about what I did, but you know, no, I still had to work. I had to work. Yeah.
So I mean, I was a trainer at one time, 10 clients a day. I'm guessing you might have been in the gym as early as like 5 or 6 a.m.
Yes.
and leaving as late as like 9 p.m. sometimes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would train, but also too, I put a few clients in as half-hour sessions too.
Okay.
Because I had a lot of older people that I was training, but no, I still got 5. I still had to, you know, had to work and I had to do what I had to do. You know, I just it was great because it was the summer, so I didn't have to train a lot of people on the weekends. You know, people like clients were going down the shore or going away for the weekend, so that worked out great. And Fridays were always a light day, so I think it was like Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays I was packed. I was busy. And Wednesdays and Fridays were light, and then the weekends were easy. So I still had to work, but that was just the way the schedule worked out. Yeah. And you know, now that it's over, everything's back to normal. Where I'm busy every day now again. Yeah. So, and I don't even think I could like have the mindset to train for a show right now, like going into Niagara, because I would have to blow off. I would have to blow off clients, and I can't lose those people. You know, you got to take that.
So you talked about. You were posting on social media, but not much, and you certainly weren't talking about I'm gonna dominate this show, I'm gonna do this and that, it's gonna be my best ever. You weren't doing any of that, which is total opposite of what most people do nowadays.
Right.
You know, Instagram, there's so many competitors now, or aspiring competitors. Hashtag going pro, hashtag Miami Nationals.
Yeah, Miami. Well, wait. The Nationals. The name of the Nationals is the NPC Nationals, not the Miami Nationals. It just happens to be in Miami.
Yeah. You know what my favorite one is, though?
What?
USA Nationals. They're doing the USA Nationals.
That's a new one.
That's the one. That's the USA, but that's if you don't know the name of the contest, you don't deserve to be a pro. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You don't deserve to win a show if you don't even know the right name of it. But what I'm getting at is, you know, a lot of people nowadays, mostly younger people, because the social media is something that really just spawned over the past few years, but they need that constant validation, the pats on the back every day that they're posting up. Here's the chicken and rice I ate. You know, here's they're doing screens. They're taking pictures of the cardio. This is how many minutes I did on the step mill today. You know, they need that. How did you find the motivation to really drive yourself without any of that external validation? You took it all from inside, I'm guessing.
Well, I had quite a bit of failure, and so I think, you know, I reached out to a few people for help, and every single one of them said no to me. They all said they had no time. They were busy. One coach said he was about to retire. One coach said he was too busy. One coach said, Vin, you should really think about giving this up.
Wow.
Yeah. So talk about like putting a chip on my shoulder. You know, I had that kind of pissed me off. But before all of that, I knew in my mind, Ron, I wrote down my goals. I wrote them down. I said, winning over 40 Masters Pittsburgh Pro, over 50 Masters Pittsburgh Pro, and I left no stone unturned. It turned out that I didn't need anybody. You know, I didn't need them. And what was funny and more ironic about this whole thing was 2 of these coaches were at the Pittsburgh Pro, and I beat the guys they trained, and they wouldn't acknowledge me. I went to say hello to one of the guys. I'm saying hello, and he just put his head the other way. I was like, oh, either he's salty right now or he's pissed at me. I don't know. Couldn't care. Wow. So it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. You know, because I honestly, I don't want to say I wrote you off, but things weren't looking good for you. Let's put it that way.
I know.
And I said, I don't know. I would never tell you to retire. I would never tell anybody to retire if you still have that fire and you still think you can do it. But I wasn't feeling like you were going to do anything special ever again. I thought your best days were behind you. I was very happy when you won this show.
Thank you.
You know, and you had, like I said, when you had a lot of failures and obstacles and adversity along the way, it had to have made that win just so much better than if it just came easy and quick for you. What was it like to get your first pro win this year? Three pro wins, but let's say the first one was in Pittsburgh, those 2 wins. Yeah. What was it like to have your hand raised, the last guy on stage with the trophy finally?
Oh man, I couldn't believe it was happening. You know, I envisioned all of it, and then all of a sudden they put my number. They said, call my number, and put me inside the box, you know, in the center stage. And I'm like, okay. And then Jeff Williams, who was the previous 2 years winner, he was standing next to me, and then they moved him, and I'm like, wait, they're moving him away from me. And then they moved a bunch of other guys, and it was just like so surreal, like, you know. And then, okay, I think I just beat Jeff. I'm not sure, but I think I beat Jeff. Yeah. And I think he ended up in 3rd in the over 50. And we walk off stage, we line back up for the over 40, and I'm on the far right, and they pulled me right away into the middle, and they started moving everybody around. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is actually coming into fruition. Like my actual belief system is coming true right before my very eyes. You know, I don't know if I'm making sense of what I'm saying.
No, you are. Yeah.
It was just like, you know, I wrote these goals down. I believed in them every single day. I stopped talking to everybody. I wouldn't, like I said before, go to certain gyms, not for any reason, but just I wanted to get away from competitors. I wanted to get away from anybody who had anything to do with bodybuilding. And if some of the people that go to the gym I go to and where I work do compete, I didn't even talk to them. Not in a bad way. Just I respected them, and you know, if they ever asked me for an opinion, I gave it to them. Some people didn't even know who I was, and they found out after, like, oh, this guy won all these shows in the past. But it was, you know, man, to win 3 pro shows, yeah, you know, and you know, I think we discussed a while ago, like my motivation was originally because my niece passed away, and she was sick, and she was fighting, but she was battling her cancer, yeah. And what it hit me that I never thought of her once while I was training for the shows, not as a motivation. I mean, I think about her all the time, but to say, like, you know, oh, what she went through battling cancer, I could do this. But then I thought she wouldn't want me to focus on her. She would want me to focus on me. And it took me about a week or 2 to really like it settle in. Like, holy shit, I just won 3 pro shows.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool. You know, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, you know, they're talking about the possibility of bringing a Masters Mr. Olympia back. I don't see why. Yeah, I mean, they're talking. They were talking about the Ms. Olympia a year ago coming back, and now we found out it is coming back. So I wouldn't write this off. I think it's a possibility. But yeah.
In conjunction with the Olympia?
Unknown, Captain, unknown. But I bet it would be. I bet it would be all. Man, what a weekend that's going to be, because they're going to add wellness. They get the Ms. Olympia. Man, they're going to have to add like another day to the Olympia or something.
So I wonder if I'm qualified for it. I should be.
Well, I think, you know, in the past, it's been kind of an open thing where anyone who was a Masters pro could do it. I don't know what, I don't know how they're going to do it this time. The Olympia, I would imagine they're going to have maybe you would have had to win a show like you did or something, not just anybody, because otherwise I guess you'd have like 100 guys who turn pro as masters trying to jump up there. But, you've already won a couple shows. So where do you go from here? What do you have in mind as far as future competitive plans?
I do have something in mind. I think my next step, before if the Masters Olympia does happen,
Yeah.
that would be a no-brainer.
Right.
I would do it. That would be a no-brainer. But I would like to, have a good off season. After looking at some of the pictures, I could now see, like, only from last November to now,
Yeah.
I was able to just train again. But now, after I see the pictures, I could see what I need to train and make better. I see what's weaker on me and some things that I did wrong. A bad habit that I had was doing my front double bicep, protecting my shoulders because they hurt. Because if I do it the old way, which I did do it at the contest, but then sometimes I drifted back into just bringing my hands up in the air, and it made my physique look distorted. And I said, I can't do that again. I got to make sure that does not happen. So I got to practice my posing. I got to train with a few different exercises for back to bring some thickness back up. My quads from the side look crazy, but I need to do more sumo style squats to bring the insides out. So I'm really looking at my physique and just saying I need a good 6 months of off season. But I do want to do a 212 show. I think in my heart, I would love to do the New York Pro, but I also know how hard and difficult that is. Yeah. So we'll see. Let me see what happens by January, and then I'll pick something. But right now, I just want to enjoy these wins and enjoy the gym, and have a good off season and have a good off season of eating. Not too bad of
I know. Well, I mean, you're Italian and you're in New Jersey. There's got to be some tasty places to eat for a guy like that around there.
Just my sister's house, so I don't have to go too far.
Good old home cooking. I want to commend you because, I just turned 50 and it's a mental block that I have, and I need to be more like you. You think you're talking about making improvement and bringing up certain body parts. Right. And when I think of that, there's a big voice in my head that says, ain't going to happen. You ain't going to do it now. It's too late.
It's not true. It's not true. You can do it. It's just that you got to put your ego aside. And when we say ego, it's like, no, we're not walking around like we're, bravado and, we got the swagger kind of thing. I'm talking about the ego that says, I'm a man. I want to pick up 90-pound dumbbells and put them on my head. No. Well, try doing single arm 30-pound dumbbell presses super slow and tell me that does not fire the fuck up on your shoulders, man. You'll be like, holy shit. And then all of a sudden you're creeping your way up to using 50s and your shoulders are starting to grow again because you're isolating it. And that's what I've been doing. It's kind of difficult for chest because you could fall off the bench or something. But for the most part, hammer strength is great for that. Hammer strength has been my bread and butter a little bit for single arm stuff. And Bulgarian split squats, single leg curls, anything single is probably what I do in the beginning of all my workouts. And then I do a compound. So I can't do. So here's the thing, Ron. Here's the first thing that I do. Every exercise that I do for any body part, the very first one, I look at, okay, I got warm-up sets and then I got working sets. But then once I'm done with it, I look at that whole thing was just a warm-up. It's not even part of my workout because my true strength doesn't come until my second exercise or my third exercise. And so then I have to be like, okay, I got to know when to use certain things at certain points in the workout. And once I'm fully warmed up, man, I'm good to go. I'm good to go.
Right on.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not even so much the age; it's the fact that I started training in 1984. You must have been a couple years ahead of me. I'm thinking, if you were competing in '84.
Yeah, but Ron, I think I was only working out 3 months at the time.
Oh, okay. All right, so we've probably been working out the same amount of time. Yeah. But I mean, if you tell someone I've been working out for 30, 35, 36, 37 years, they'll be like, well, you're maxed out by now. You're not going to get any better now. That's ridiculous. But you're finding otherwise. You are making improvements, right?
I'm making improvements. I'm never going to be a Dorian Yates. I'm not going to all of a sudden start putting all this monstrous size on, but I am putting the muscle I used to have back on, and I'm making the muscle better, and I'm paying attention to how it should be done, not just going into the gym, just arbitrarily lifting weights. I have a rhyme or reason on what I do. Do I change it midway sometimes? Absolutely. Because that's just the name of the game sometimes. Sometimes, this exercise I'm not feeling today, so I'm going to go do something else. But for the most part, I always start the same way, but I might not finish the same way. And my nutrition has been better all year. I paid attention to that, and I just have the hunger again. I told John Meadows I'm dead serious about my comeback, and I can't emphasize any more about how serious I am. I do want to do a 212 show, but I want to also be realistic. I'm positive in my approach. So I don't know if the Masters is where I should stay, or should I attempt to do a 212? I would love to. I'd love to test the waters. If there's a Masters contest right before the New York Pro, yeah, I'm going to do it. But I think because Mike Valentino just retired and he had his contest, it was a Masters show. So I'm not sure if that's going to be on the schedule next year. I'm not sure, but hopefully, I don't know, maybe in 2 more months we'll find out for sure about the Olympia.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to have it next year, they're going to have to let us. They're going to have to let everybody know, by the end of this year. You can't just throw an Olympia up out of nowhere. It's got to.
It would
planning.
If at the Universe in Teaneck had a pro, if they had a pro event there, that's a nice title.
The one that you won was held along with North American, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Same weekend, or it was the day before, a couple days before.
It was actually the same on Saturday.
Same day. Okay. Yeah, because the last time I went to North American, they were doing all the master stuff a couple days before they got into the amateur stuff.
I know. Yeah, they changed it. So now all the men were on Saturday. But it would be fantastic if I could drive down the street to the Universe, and if there was a pro portion of that would be fantastic. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. How far is Teaneck? How far is Teaneck from you?
20 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
I like that venue. A lot of parking. I like parking.
Good show.
I don't want to have anxiety about parking, but where can people find you on the various social media platforms? Where do you want people to look?
Instagram at Vinny_Galanti.
Yeah. And Facebook, you have a group on Facebook for Masters bodybuilders, I believe.
I don't know what I have on Facebook.
Oh, I mean, I hope that's you and not an imposter. But
I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to hype it then, because it might be somebody pretending to be you. So Vinny_Galanti.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. Well, Vinny, I appreciate you've been very, very generous with your time. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
I followed your career for first time I saw you compete was 92 Junior USA when you won. I think you won the middleweights there.
Yeah.
Culver City, California. Good times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Good times.
Yeah, and I remember seeing you you were on the photo shoots. You and Danny Hester, I think, were on the cover of Muscle Media 2000.
Yeah, we were on a bunch of covers together.
Yeah, I mean,
so we go back a long way.
Yeah, I mean, you deserve this every bit of success you're having. You've certainly worked very, very long, very hard for it, and
thank you. I appreciate it.
You've had adversity. It hasn't been easy, and that's inspirational. I'm 50 now, and I'm looking to you. You're my inspiration now. I'm saying, okay, Vinny did it. Vinny did it. What the hell?
Absolutely.
Suck it up, Buttercup Harris. You can do it too. Cool, man. Thank you so much, Vinny. I appreciate it. Everybody out there, thank you for watching Ronline Report. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and we will see you next time.